In the budget, remember, there were incentives for property developers with projects with more than 50 dwellings. There's an accelerated depreciation up from 2.5% to 4%. And for foreign investors, withholding tax will drop from 30% to 15%. So to work out the impact of all this on the housing market, what better person to talk to than Harry Triguboff, founder and chairman of the Meriton Group. It's built close to 80,000 apartments, which makes it the biggest home builder in the nation.
At this stage, we have a huge problem. We're overcoming it a little bit by more people sharing. So if they share a bit, then it helps a bit. But there's a limit to how much you can share. So many things have to change, and they have to change very quickly.
Because my observation would be that there's not enough housing right now. There's a rental crisis. The rents are going up very quickly. You've got a situation where population is coming in. It's going to make it even worse. And so therefore, unless you build a lot of housing quickly, you don't solve the problem.
See, we have to bring these people because we have so many 800,000 looking for jobs. And also, these people who we bring will build the houses, so they have to come. And I say that we should also bring Russians and Ukrainians and the East Europeans, because then we have a better mix. Just bringing from one place is not good. They have to be mixed like we always were. And they have to come very quickly. Yeah.
Okay, they have to come very quickly, but it doesn't take any pressure off the housing market. My observation is that if you've got a rental crisis and you don't have enough housing and you've got more people coming, you basically create a housing boom, which is not necessarily good for the economy, is it?
But if you don't bring them, you'll never fix it. You have no choice.
Okay, so you are Australia's biggest developer of housing units. Are you building fast enough to accommodate these people?
No. I don't build fast enough because in the last 2 years I didn't buy anything in Sydney, because I say anyone who builds in Sydney has rocks in his head. You can't make money here. That's it. The councils and the government make it impossible.
So this becomes a fundamental problem, that if the government wants to bring all these people in to take pressure off the labour force, to take pressure off inflation, then they've got to get changes in state and local government to enable enough housing to be built to bring these people to Australia.
Yeah, of course. But in the state we have a new government, and they say they're just getting settled in. Well, that's very good. We'll see what they do. So far, nothing, but they just came.
Okay, so I'm just trying to work out, because the government then says we'll give incentives to people like you to build to rent. In other words, buildings that are for rental only. Will you do that?
Yeah, I do it, because I say that there's two results can happen. Either we'll have a huge recession, or we will come out of it, which we always do, so I presume we will do this time too, when they will change their policies. But they have to change them very quickly. You see, the public service here in New South Wales is not friendly to a developer. They got into their minds that they have to follow the rules. And the rules do not take into account changes. So when I first built my flats, people had no cars. And I built a few garages in Bondi, and I sold them for £50 each because nobody wanted them, and they charged rates on them like for a unit. Can you imagine? So they changed their ways, they understand, but it's too slow. Today, people want cars. So I should build cars. They don't want to give me apartments with cars. They say they built me railways. I say, you build me railways is right, but he wants a car not only to go to work, he wants a car to run around. Now, you didn't build him a railway so he can run around. See, now, that should be a 10-minute job to decide. With them, it's years and years and fights and everything.
Okay, so come back to this issue of build to rent. So they've done two things. They've reduced the withholding tax for foreign investors into Australia for build to rent, so big international investors, and they've also allowed you to depreciate more quickly the new buildings from 2.5% up to 4%. Is that enough for you for incentive to go out and build?
Well, it helps. But I don't understand why a little buyer who buys from me can't get the same incentive. After all, these little buyers are the ones who provided rental accommodation for as long as I was building. And so, I mean, why don't you help them as well? We should.
So what about those foreign investors coming in? Can they actually come in?
They will never come anyway because there's no profit.
Explain that to me. Why is there no profit?
Why is there no profit? Well, it's like this. The councils, with their rules, cost at least $200,000 a unit. The government, now, because they're so slow, then the holding charges and all the delays is another 100,000. So we lose 300,000. Now, they must be given some money for sure. I say they would do much better by having these costs, and then we would build twice as many apartments, and they would be better off. And that's what the country needs, not just to stick to the old.
So this means that the federal government can't do enough. They've got to get the cooperation of the states and the local councils.
Yes, of course. Now, costs went up significantly. And so the builders were making very little profit. Now they can't make any profit at all. So therefore they build even less because nobody will give them money. But because they forced us to pre-sell, the reason was to protect the banks, so that the banks wouldn't give money to a builder who can't sell. Right. But the banks never gave any money to build. So I don't know what they're saving. You'd show me one lot where they gave money. Oh, they give money to the office builders. Why? Not because we need them, but because the government signs a lease. So he knows he signed the lease, he'll take it. So to him, he gives the money.
So the final part about this is that if we've got a shortage of housing and lots more people coming, that to me says there's a boom in housing prices coming. You said there could also be a bust. There could be a recession. Why is there a fine line between one and the other?
As we have less houses and as rents go up, people will buy more. That's obvious. They'll have to buy more now. Well, but now we have a very funny thing too with this pre-selling. I have two blocks, one finishing, one starting. Difference in price, 10%. Why? Because the one that's finished, he knows he'll get the buyer. The one that I'm starting, he's not even sure if I'll finish it or anybody will finish it, because who knows what will happen. Now, this is another problem. How can you pre-sell? Because they don't want they're scared of buying a new one that you're building, especially if you have a tall one. Now, to overcome the shortage, we'll have to build very tall buildings. Don't make us favors telling us we can build 8 floors instead of 2 floors. This has to be 40 floors instead of 2. Otherwise, we'll never get there.
Harry Triguboff, it's always great to have a chat to you. It's refreshing.
Nice.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.